Welcome to Fear and Greed Summer Investing Series, brought to you by Vanta, specialists in compliance-led growth. I'm Sean Aylmer. One of the best things about a series like this is discovering companies you know very little or nothing about. And this one is a cracker. It's called PWR Holdings and is a supplier to a bunch of F1 racing teams and ultra-luxe car makers like Aston Martin. As always, this is general information only, and you should seek independent advice before making investment decisions. Gaurav Sodhi is the Deputy Head of Research at Intelligent Investor. Gaurav, welcome back to Fear and Greed.
Hello, Sean. Thanks for having me.
PWR Holdings. I need a 101. Take me away.
It's hardly a household name, is it? But if you're involved in racing, particularly F1 racing, it is a household name. PWR, believe it or not, supplies every single F1 car on the grid with its cooling systems. Now, when I say cooling systems, you may think that's air conditioning or something. It is not. F1 cars, of course, have very powerful engines. Those engines require immense amount of cooling. And while that's true of every conventional engined vehicle in the world, F1 engines have to be very specifically tuned to every track. So what PWR does, it comes up with high-end cooling solutions that can change depending on the track and the car. So the PWR will be embedded with every team prior to the racing season, and they will come up with different types of cooling solutions, typically radiators, but there's lots of other cooling solutions. And those teams will come up with designs for every car and in every race. So there's a different radiator and a different cooling solution for every car and every race. And that means that if you're a Bosch or if you're a German or Chinese manufacturer of cooling technology and you've got these giant factories, you can't change your designs depending on every race. You need to be a nimble, small, research-heavy business to be able to supply these high-end racing cars. And that's where the niche exists. That's why a tiny business like PWR, which started out in the Gold Coast and is run out of Australia and America, that's why they can lead the world and defeat the huge scale providers of this technology. It's because they need to be nimble and change their designs very quickly.
Wow. Ultra high-end engineering. Does it depend? I mean, how much of its business is dependent on F1 then?
F1 has been where the business has made its reputation and where they make about 50% of their revenue at the moment. Now, when they first started, there was another business, a UK business called Marsden, which typically supplied most of the grid, or the teams themselves had their own cooling technologies developed internally that they used to use. Mm-hmm. And it was the Red Bull team originally who took a chance on a PWR cooling system. They used their radiator and an intercooler, and they did that about 10 years ago, and they won the entire championship. Oh, wow. Now, this is an industry where small changes can result in huge outcomes. So when that happened, one by one, over the next decade, every single team eventually switched over to PWR, and they're now the monopoly supplier to the entire grid. Now, not only do they supply 2 or 3 pieces of cooling, as technology in F1 has changed, so has the cooling requirements. So they used to supply about 4 pieces of cooling technology per car. They now supply 14 pieces of cooling technology per car. And there's new changes coming in 2026 that will mean that number will go up again. So there's baked in revenue growth for that F1 division. It's really stable, steady revenue that we can rely on. And those teams are just not price sensitive. Even the most poorly F1 team has a $50-60 million racing budget, and cooling might account for about $1 million of that budget. So it's a small piece of a large pie, but an absolutely crucial input. Where the business is going in the future, though, Sean, is they're moving away from F1 racing. F1 racing provides them with a lot of funded R&D. So the teams themselves will pay for PWR to come up with new designs and remain on the cutting edge of cooling technology. They are now using that cooling technology to move into defense and aerospace. So we're talking about things like cooling satellites, cooling drones, cooling high-end military equipment. So they're currently seeking certifications and building new capacity to supply a brand new industry. And I think that's probably the most exciting part of the business. They're not even really ready to do that in a complete sense, but revenues are sort of doubling every year, even though they don't have the capacity or the certifications to serve. So I think if we look out 10 years, I think we'll find a business that has moved that where you're earning these steady, high margin revenues from motor racing, but you're getting a lot of growth from aerospace and defense. And this I think will be a much larger, more profitable business in the years to come.
And the risk, Gaurav?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because that all sounds very easy to do and it all sounds almost inevitable. There is nothing inevitable about all of this. PWR does not hold any patents. Because it turns over technology so fast, there is always a risk that someone does things better. We have to remember that Marsden got displaced by PWR. A better solution could always displace them. Now, so far, they have the largest budgets, they have the biggest teams, they're embedded. It's hard to do, but it's not impossible. The other thing we have to consider is price. The market has now started to price in higher expectations from this business. It's now $1 billion business, so it's no longer a small cap. And we need to be careful about the price we pay. So I think I'd highlight those two things: the risk of a competitor leapfrogging them in technology, and also the risk of simply paying too much.
Gaurav, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Sean.
That was Gaurav Sodhi, Deputy Head of Research at Intelligent Investor. Remember to get your own independent advice before making decisions. This is Fear and Greed's Summer Investing Series brought to you by Vanta. Vanta automates compliance for frameworks like ISO 27001, SOC 2, CPS 234 and Essential 8, saving time and money while building trust. Join over 8,000 companies like Atlassian, Dovetail and FireAnt, managing real-time risk. Get $1,000 off at vanta.com/fearandgreed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.